Just woke up and was dreaming about designing out waste. It was a riveting dream. But essentially, I think this comes to the root of a lot of the issues of the current model of consumption and why a circular economy is sort of inevitable. So to start, waste really can be thought of as a design failure or a design issue. So everything that we currently use and consume, for the most part, has been designed to be waste after its use. And this comes down to the fact that when companies are producing things, they are producing them intentionally to minimize costs and not intentionally to make sure that the product can be useful for many lives after. And a lot of whether it's a chip bag or a Gatorade bottle, where it's very clear cut. So in order to make a cheap bag of chips, I'm going to reduce the amount of investment into this packaging, and I'm going to not really care about where it goes after because it's not my responsibility. Where it's very clear cut in that way that a chip company, they don't take time or invest energy or resources into making a container that can be used many times over. It's also evident in things like energy production facilities. So you take a nuclear facility, for example, where the whole area is designed from the outset, knowing that the entire plot of land and a decent amount of area outside of that land where the atomic reactor is will not be used for the long term. Because it's contaminated by nuclear radiation, you're essentially turning property into waste. So it's not just about a consumer product. It's even as far-reaching as turning whole areas into waste because we're short-sighted and we're not necessarily looking at ways to continue to use resources usefully and productively over the long term. It's more driven, our design today is driven by short-term economic goals. And it's just really unsustainable. And in order to address the problem, you can't do it after the fact, right? You can't go back to a nuclear reactor and say, okay, now, how do we turn this into a useful site? It's already too late. Once you have that bag of chips, it's flimsy plastic, it gets into all sorts of wildlife places, and it's really hard to deal with and turn into a productive good again. So it's too late after these goods have been produced and used and wasted. You need to look at designing from the very outset ways that after a product's useful life is up, it can be used again in a functional and productive way. So that's really what I mean by designing out waste and the importance it plays in the circular economy.